Bruce Lee, A Life, by Matthew Polly, Simon & Schuster, 656 pages, $47. Simon & Schuster, Matthew Polly, author of Bruce Lee, A Life, Simon & Schuster, copyright Justin Garaglia, www.8fish.com. When Matthew Polly began research for his biography of the late, great Chinese-American martial arts icon Bruce Lee, he made a wish list of people to interview. Near the top was Chuck Norris, who co-starred with Lee in the classic 1972 fight film Way of the Dragon. Polly was offered an introduction to the former Hollywood star, but was cautioned that his request would probably be turned down. Chuck won't talk because he hates the fact that 45 years later Bruce is still more famous than he is, and is sick of answering questions about him, says Polly, with a laugh. Wherever he goes, people ask him about Bruce. Norris's reaction only makes Polly's Bruce Lee, A Life all the more remarkable. Article continued below. Despite the fact that Lee, who died suddenly in 1973, a year after Way of the Dragon was released, remains an enigmatic figure, Polly's book is the first comprehensive biography of the action hero. Not just for fight fanatics, Bruce Lee is the singular portrait of a complex family man whose mastery of martial arts was almost topped by his cha-cha moves on the dance floor. As Polly pored through existing articles, legal documents and other media, a friend joked that the author had been researching Lee his entire life. Growing up in Topeka, Kansas, during the 1980s, as a skinny, bullied kid, who was terrified on the playground, Polly's life changed after a friend's older brother brought home a tape of Lee's film Enter the Dragon, which had been released in 1973, 6 days after Lee's death. "We didn't know what it was. We didn't know who Bruce Lee was," says Polly. "We had never seen a kung fu movie. He jumped into my imagination and became my childhood hero." While many kids left their idols behind, Polly's obsession with martial arts never waned. He dropped out of Princeton to train with the Chinese Shaolin monks, who were famously credited with inventing kung fu. Polly chronicled his journey to becoming the monk's most unlikely disciple in his first book, 2007's American Shaolin, followed in 2011 by Tapped Out, which follows his middle-aged attempt to become a MMA fighter. Polly says, "Writing this book was my way of paying back what I feel is my debt to Bruce for changing my life for the better." For 3 years, Polly interviewed more than 100 of Lee's friends, family members and colleagues. He spent half a year in Hong Kong. Lee was born in the U.S., but his family moved back to Hong Kong when he was little, and several months in Lee's adopted homes of Seattle and Los Angeles. While biographers of some of Lee's closest pals, such as actor Steve McQueen, were easy to access, it took some convincing to secure Lee's widow, Linda Lee Cadwell. Polly speculates that she agreed to an interview after discovering that he had already spoken to Taiwanese actress Betty Ting-pei, who was Lee's mistress at the time of his death and in whose apartment his lifeless body was found. Although the mysterious circumstances surrounding Lee's death are still the subject of wild speculation, Polly was more interested in how his early years influenced his career. Lee was born in San Francisco in November 1940, but grew up in Hong Kong. His father was a Cantonese opera singer, who met his mother while performing for her affluent family. An overly active child, Lee found moments of calm writing in journals and acting in films, often alongside his father, and in the adrenaline rush of street fighting. His older brother was the favored one. Bruce was the kid who was always in trouble and disapproved of by his father, says Polly. He was really striving to always be the best, and in some ways his life was a search for his father's approval. As a teen, Lee began martial arts training under Wing Chun master Ip Man, who taught him the fundamentals of mediation. But in his parents' eyes, Lee remained incorrigible. Frustrated by his failing grades and near-criminal shenanigans, they shipped him to Seattle to live with family friends, hoping that hard work and discipline would set him straight. It was in the rainy West Coast city where Lee first had the idea to set up his own martial arts school, which paved the way for his future role as fight trainer to the Hollywood stars. Lee was by all accounts competitive and would push himself to extremes to win any challenge. He was very charming and charismatic, though his larger-than-life personality also caused friction. Boom, he's there, center of attention, doing push-ups and magic tricks, says Polly. I think for quieter personalities it was a spice of life, but for other people who had a fair amount of pride, he could rub people the wrong way. Lee's competitiveness went into overdrive after he arrived in notoriously racist Hollywood. He refused to take the few stereotypical roles allotted for Chinese actors, and fought hard to become the first Asian movie idol since Japan's Setsu Hayakawa, who reigned during the silent film era but could only get roles as villains amidst the lingering prejudices of post-war America. Lee's struggles still hold true today. This summer's Hollywood rom-com Crazy Rich Asians is being touted as the first major motion picture in 25 years to feature an all-Asian cast. Article continued below. Try to name one romantic hero who is East Asian, says Polly. Bruce was trying to do something that didn't exist, to bring the Chinese male hero to Western culture. That was the huge challenge he was up against, because producers were like, "You're really charming, but the audiences will never accept a Chinese hero." Part of my aim was to try and point this out, but also put a spotlight on one of the greatest Asian American heroes. Sue Carter is the editor of Quill and Choir.